You are not likely going to be a good leader if you are fixated on the privileges attached to your leadership position. You're not likely going to be a good leader. As a matter of fact, you take advantage of people, you will use people because in your mind, you have to take your own part of the national cake. You have to put your children there. You have to finish the money because it will not always be there. Let's pack all that we can pack. Because for you, leadership is not sacrifice. Leadership is privilege. Leadership is benefits. Leadership is sitting allowance, wardrobe allowance. Leadership is salaries. Leadership is all kinds of retirement benefits till you die and for your children's children. Leadership is all about all you can get and how much you can and then sit on top of the can. That is what leadership is for a lot of people. Hello there, my name is Dami Oguntunde and you're welcome to the Faith and Culture Podcast. For the past few weeks, we've been talking about leadership and I've been sharing quite a number of insights that I believe has really helped a lot of people. And of course, much of these insights and wisdom is drawn from the Bible, but the application arenas extend beyond the four walls of the church. So these are principles and insights that you can apply right away to your family life, to your work life, and of course, in your Christian experience as well. Today, I'll be sharing on what I've titled Straddling Privileges and Sacrifices as a Leader. Now, usually one of the most evident things about leadership is the privileges of leadership, which is why you would notice that there is an inordinate desire for people to be leaders in their different contexts. Of course, the political one is perhaps the most obvious. People want to be, leaders politically. And you'd almost wonder if they really knew exactly the amount of work and service required to be part of this or to do this work effectively, will they still be as keen, as excited, and as desperate for these jobs and these roles? But it remains quite a question in the minds of people because why are people so desperate to become leaders if leadership is service? That's a very good question. Now, the reason why people are desperate to become leaders, whichever context that you may call it, is because of the privileges attached to leadership. It is very unlikely that the team lead will be the least paid in a team. It's very unlikely that the leader of an organization will be the least paid or the average paid in the organization. So typically, some privileges and perks and opportunities and benefits come and accrue to the person who is in the leadership position. And because of those perks and opportunities and financial remuneration and opportunities and all of that, because of all those perks that come with leadership, it makes the job very, very attractive. However, especially for someone who is coming into leadership from a Christian perspective or worldview, as much as the perks are there and you should be excited because of the perks, what your mind should be really focused on a lot more is the sacrifices that are involved in leadership. As a matter of fact, the reason for the privileges and the perks is the sacrifice. If the sacrifices were not there, there will be no need for those privileges and those added benefits. As a matter of fact, it is just to make it a bit comfortable because leadership by itself is uncomfortable. It is to just increase the level of comfort and should I say compensation for the level of responsibility that this person is taking on. It is because of that responsibility we want to just make things a bit more bearable, comfortable, that we want to compensate you. That's the whole idea of compensation because you're already doing something significant. So to compensate you for the work done and for the other kinds of jobs you could have taken up, for the different things that you could have done and gotten a far better pay out of, we are just going to give you this token. So at no point should the privileges attached to a role be much more than the sacrifices involved in it. Now, that may not be the case, especially in the political arena, where, it's just ridiculous, the cost of governance, in our world today, where, people who just gather, and this is not to minimize or diminish what they do, but they gather pretty much. They gather and talk about things and legislations and the amount of money they cash out just by showing up seated. Why would people want to kill themselves to become one of these officials in the government houses? My point is this. Because we have so glamorized the privileges, we see why people can do anything. They will do anything. They will sell any part of their body pretty much. They'll give an arm and a leg just to be considered to be a candidate or to be part of those that are considered for that position. And the reason is because the privileges far outweigh the obvious sacrifices. The moment you see the sacrifices of a thing that is so significant, the likelihood that you still find it attractive is low. Even if it has compensation, if it does not match with the sacrifices, you're not likely going to give it a shot. Why? Because the sacrifices outweigh. But that is exactly what leadership actually entails. Do you know what was given to your dad for having you? Nothing. Nobody awarded him a plaque of recognition for being a father. But that's probably the most incredible responsibility any man can ever assume. The role of being a father, of fathering a child, being there. There are several other opportunities you could have chosen for yourself. You could have chosen a career that would take you out of the country, become a professional footballer and travel the world. You could have been a chef or something, the dreams you've always wanted to do. Now you have a child, you can't just go anywhere you want to go. You can't just drive anyhow. You have to come back home every evening. Your child needs you, your family needs you. He needs an example. You have to be in and around his life. You have to give him counsel. You have to teach him on how to be a good man, how to take care of a lady, how to be courteous, how to be humble, how to be diligent. Now your child needs you. And sometimes all the dreams you've always fantasized about becoming in your life, you sacrifice it on the table of fatherhood. Because that responsibility requires sacrifice every single day. And for what privilege, please? For what privilege? You're going to spend from now till perhaps that child is able to get a job for himself or herself and fend for herself. And that does not guarantee that they'll fend for you, but fend for herself and you'll be off that hook for a while. But what really are the privileges apart from just the joy of seeing somebody that came out of your loins become the best that they can become? What else is there really? Tell me. And that tells you that the most respectable, admirable positions of responsibility, the sacrifices therein outweigh the privileges. You are not likely going to be a good leader if you are fixated on the privileges attached to your leadership position. You're not likely going to be a good leader. As a matter of fact, you take advantage of people, you will use people because in your mind, you have to take your own part of the national cake. You have to put your children there. You have to finish the money because it will not always be there. Let's pack all that we can pack. Because for you, leadership is not sacrifice. Leadership is privilege. Leadership is benefits. Leadership is sitting allowance, wardrobe allowance. Leadership is salaries. Leadership is all kinds of retirement benefits till you die and for your children's children. Leadership is all about all you can get and how much you can and then sit on top of the can. That is what leadership is for a lot of people. While I was on campus, I became the senior pastor for Christ Ambassador Student Outreach at a very young age. I was 21. This was May 2011. And I became the pastor, and it was quite a sensational thing. A lot of people heard about me, knew about me. I mean, I was really young. I was very, very young. And then usually during those moments, we would have former pastors from different parts of Nigeria, and sometimes people will fly into the country and they'll be part of the inauguration or commissioning or ordination, as the case may be. And they will lay hands on the new pastor, pray for the new pastor, and then our founding pastor, Papa Joe, will show up and then he will bring oil and then he will pour it on the head of the new pastor, prophesy over his life, prophesy over Castle, and just release God's blessing upon the new pastor and his leadership team. So it was always a very highly anticipated event that happened only once every year, especially if it's a new pastor, as in brand new pastor. If it's the same person taking on all of that paraphernalia may not show up, but for a new pastor, that usually happened. Now, at the end of that entire ceremony, someone came to me and said, Pastor Dami, I just want you to know, celebrate you, but I just want you to know that one day I would also be the pastor of this fellowship. Now, at that point, honestly, I knew he wasn't going to be the pastor. Now, not because I planned to stay for as long as I eventually found out to have stayed. Not because I planned to stay for 3.5 years pastoring the fellowship, but because I just knew that it goes against the grain of how God appoints leaders. All he was seeing in that moment was the glitz and the glam and all the lights that was on my head and the oil, and everybody showed up for me, a 21-year-old boy. I mean, all these pastors from different walks of life who had now become big men in Lagos, in Dubai, in different parts of Nigeria, they came and they blessed me, prayed for me, and the whole church was full. Everybody was celebrating God's grace. And so he saw all of that spectacle and he fell in love with that image of an exalted man that was anointed. Now, I wish they knew what was going on in my head, but that's another conversation entirely. My point is, he came to me and he was bold enough to say to me that he will be pretty much saying that he will be the next pastor. And I knew that this goes against the grain of how God works. He was only seeing the privileges. Oh, the pastor will stay in this room. Oh, the pastor will have this access. The pastor will be this. The pastor will be that. And he thought, my goodness, this guy is going to enjoy. This guy is the real Marco. If I can just be the pastor too. And that was all that mattered to him. Now, if that guy was really desperate, eventually, of course, he didn't become the pastor. I didn't even realize I was going to be pastoring Castle for at least 3.5 years. I pastored between 2011 and 2014. Eventually, I pastored him till he graduated from school, pretty much. Like, he left school and I was pretty much still pastoring. My point is, if that guy was desperate for that position, do you know how many things he would have been willing to do just to become the pastor of Castle? He would have done a lot of unethical things. And this is actually what makes people become corrupt and unethical. When there's that desperation for the privilege that a leadership position promises, that someone is willing to do whatever it takes to get there. Clearly, they're not planning to serve the people. Clearly, they're not planning to sacrifice their own ambitions so that people can be served. Mandela today is a global icon for all ages. And the reason was because he sacrificed himself for the people of South Africa. This guy was imprisoned unjustly for 27 years. A 27-year-old young man is probably married with children right now. 27 years in one prison. And then the first thing this guy does when he comes out of prison is to go shake the hands of the people that captured him and tell them that he forgives them. He eventually leads a revolution. He becomes the president of South Africa. And after 4 years, his first tenure, he leaves, even when South Africans would have willingly made him a king, a monarch that would never need to leave that position. And he left and thereafter became a global sensation, a political figure, an elder statesman, a nationalist that is respected globally. That is, think of any world celebrity that you've ever wished you saw. That person thought seeing Mandela was the peak of their lives. That was what Mandela became. He became a global icon. And it was because he was not self-serving. There's something about not being self-serving. There's something about it. The Bible talks about how that Jesus gave his life for his friends. How does God become a man, for God's sake? God becomes a man and then God dies. Think about it. It's unthinkable. That's the mystery of godliness. That's the mystery of godliness. That's the power in the gospel. This is what leadership looks like. It is sacrifice. What you would normally have wanted to do, you sacrifice it for the people you have been called to lead. That is leadership. It is sacrifice. If you exalt the privileges of leadership above the sacrifices of leadership, it is understandable why you are willing to go any length to get to that position. But if you exalt the sacrifices of leadership above the privileges of leadership, even when the leadership position comes, you will be met with awe and reverence. You will be so afraid for yourself because you'll be like, my goodness, this burden is a lot. And that will force you to pray. That will force you to rely on God. That will force you to ask God for help. That will force you to ask God to bring the right people around you. That will force you to be humble. That will force you to ask questions. That will force you to pray and trust God for grace. But if you skim your way to the top, my goodness, you already had a master plan in the first place anyways. And all you'll be doing is just executing your master plan. And your master plan will be how to never leave this place, even when I die. That will be your master plan. And such people, they make their people impoverished. They take advantage, they marginalize, they destroy the little good that is left in the land. And they make mockery of the principles of leadership. As a leader, yes, you will have privileges. I'm right now in my office as a pastor, so well, of course, you can come to this office and say, wow, great office, and and that is all that people see, the privileges of leadership. But nobody's paying attention to the price, the sacrifice. Sometimes you are able to do things that your pastor might not be able to do simply because he's thinking about you. He has to preach a message the next day. Even though he has a 9 to 5 on Monday to Friday, his Saturday is not a free time. He doesn't just have good time on a Saturday. He has to literally work from Monday to Monday because he's a pastor. The sacrifice of burning the midnight oil and reading and studying, because now you're no longer eating for yourself, the living word. You're now eating for a community of people who will not be fed except you teach. Now you're praying, and instead of just praying for your needs and thanking your God in your private devotion, you have to now carry the burden of the entire tribe of Israel on your chest, like the priests in the Old Testament, and present them before God before you even talk about yourself. These sacrifices, that when everybody is supposed to be having a good time, when someone is still not sorted, even when 99% of the church is sorted, when someone is not sorted, that person becomes your prayer point. In spite of the great good that is already happening in the church. And what church is it where 100% of the people are sorted? Anyways, my point is, if you really critically examine the responsibilities of any leadership position, you may not be quite as excited as you seem to be when the prospect of that position shows up. Because leadership is sacrifice much more than it is a privilege. And when the privileges show up just to compensate, to augment, just to say thank you for the great sacrifices that you're undertaking, it's little compared to the sacrifices. Because if you really consider the sacrifice, my goodness, you will know that nobody really pays a good leader fairly. A good leader would allow himself to be underappreciated, underpaid, undercompensated, so that he can be a blessing to the people that God has led him to lead. And as it is true in a Christian setting, it is true in a political setting, it's true in a corporate setting, the moment the leader begins to take responsibility and do the hard work of sacrificing, the privileges are likely going to go up. But then another person is looking at all of that and is like, oh my goodness, this guy is enjoying. How I wish to see the big picture. How I wish to see the whole picture, the big picture, and realize this is just compensation for the great length and the great sacrifices that leaders undertake. So I want to encourage you. I know you're a leader. I know God has made every one of us into leaders. But when it comes to positions of authority and influence and power, go for it with some measure of reverence and circumspection, and reflect and think about it. This is not a casual conversation. I'm not just a leader to catch crews and to be cool. People's lives are in my hands, and there is a sacrifice. There is a requisite level of awe that you must be filled with before you enter into such positions of influence and authority, because people's lives are not to be joked with. God will rebuke and judge very harshly leaders, especially church leaders, that take for granted this position, this sacred position of leading God's people. He takes it very, very seriously. The entire books of the prophets are filled with all kinds of very scathing remarks and rebukes meant for the pastors and the leaders and the shepherds and the prophets that misled the children of Israel, that kept false prophesying, thinking that, oh well, they're catching crews and collecting these people's money, whereas you're leading them straight to hell. And so leadership is responsibility. Leadership is, you can't do whatever you like. Leadership is, people are looking at me. I can't just act anyhow. I can't just speak anyhow. I can't just behave anyhow. I now have a bunch of people who will likely miss it if I miss it. That is a huge sacrifice. How would you feel if you couldn't act anyhow you wanted, simply because people could take it up and start acting like that? That's a huge burden. But leaders take that burden every single day with so much grace. And you need to pray for your pastor. You need to pray for your leaders. You need to pray for your boss, because it takes a lot to be a leader. And so think about the privileges, think about the sacrifices. But if you ever have to err on the side of sacrifice, and you'll be a great leader. God bless your heart. Thank you.